7, we'll open the meeting of the Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals for the January 13th, 2020 meeting. You'll record the attendance and whatnot, please. Okay, the first one is minutes. Let's do the minutes first and get them out of the way. The minutes of Monday, November 4th, 2019. Anybody have any changes, deletions, or corrections? I didn't see any mistakes. Do I have a motion regarding the minutes of November 4th, 2019?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of Monday, November 4th, 2019.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion to accept the minutes of Monday, November 4th, 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Okay, moving on to the minutes of Monday, December 9th, 2019. Anybody have any changes, corrections, or deletions as far as I could tell? Oh yeah, we have to sign. Today's what, the 13th? Okay, do I have a motion regarding the minutes of Monday, December 9th, 2019?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of Monday, December 9th, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The motion to accept the minutes of Monday, December 9th, 2019. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimous. Okay. Let's move on to our first petition, petition number 916.
Mr. Chairman, do you have copies of the agenda?
Do I have a copy? I have my own copy. I have a single copy. I don't have the entire, I don't have copies to hand out. Do we have any others? Is Deneen and Alicia? Hi, how we doing? Okay, let's start this up. The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 13th, 2019 at 7 p.m. in the Great Hall of the Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application by Dean and Elise Cascadden? Cascadden. Damn. For a special permit for an existing in-law apartment located at 108 Haywood Street, Halifax, Mass. Said property is owned by Dean and Elise Cascadden of 108 Haywood Street in Halifax, 02338, as shown on Assessors Map 121, Lot 10, Title Reference Book 51494, page 140. The applicants are seeking a new special permit for an existing in-law apartment in accordance with the zoning bylaws of the town of Halifax, under sections 167.7 Schedule of Use Regulations and section 167.7D12. Area Zone Residential, petition number 916. Hi. So, how long have you owned this home?
We purchased the home in August.
In August?
August of 2019.
Okay. So, was there an existing in-law permit for this location?
This would be a whole new special permit.
It's an old new special
It would
permit?
be a whole new special permit.
Oh, whole new
It's
one.
an existing in-law.
I'm sorry?
I mean, the in-laws already there. They
Oh.
just needed a special.
Okay.
The prior owner notified us that they got notification his permit was expired. And so we wanted to come in and reapply.
Do you have a plan or a floor plan or anything for us to look at? You know, how this is broken down, where the in-law is located and whatnot? Or has the building inspector been out at all to look at the property?
The building inspector has come out, not to look at the in-law apartment though. He's looking at some other work that we're having done on the house. Yeah, we did have the assessor out, I think in September after we purchased the property. And they went through the entire house.
Do we have any kind of floor plan or anything?
I didn't get the rules file.
Questions from members of the board?
Who's living in the apartment right now?
So currently my sister's,
Your sister is? Okay.
although she is looking for a place as well.
Have you made any modifications to the house at all?
No, not to that area. We have a deck put on, some new floors put in, but nothing.
Internally, nothing's changed.
No, internally, yeah, we didn't change anything.
Was there at one time, though, an in-law?
There was before that. Yes.
Yes, I meant prior to them, right?
Correct, yes. But since they purchased
They're
it,
just
they
renewing
didn't.
the in-law apartment.
I'm sorry?
They're renewing it, I know, they're just renewing the application.
Well, no, it doesn't follow the new owners. They just bought it in August. And you haven't made any changes to it or anything like that? It's kind of crazy to do this without a floor plan.
I can get you a copy and then we can continue it to next month. Like,
Yeah, I have no idea how big it is. I don't know if we have separate entrances. I don't know. Is there, are all the utilities shared or are they separate, do you know?
Almost all the utilities are all in our name, and then just the electric bill is under a separate one.
Separate meter?
Yeah, separate meter.
Yeah. Water,
Water's all
heat,
of us.
everything is the same?
For us, yeah. Yeah, it's a split level ranch, and so it's kind of the bottom half of the school's converted.
So on the basement area, it's half that basement or it's
The full basement is,
the full basement?
yeah. Yeah.
Is it closed off from up above or is that, you know, on a raised ranch, usually they have the door? Or is it the stairway open?
No, yeah, the stairway's open down through.
Open all the way down?
Yeah.
What about entranceways? Which way does, what do they have for entrance and exits? Does she come out her own area, or does she use the front door with you guys, or?
It depends. So we do have the front entrance, and then there's also an exterior rear entrance as well. And then a second exterior entrance that goes into our garage.
That goes to both, or just hers downstairs?
The rear entrance is just into her area. Yeah, ground level, walking right into her, like, living room area.
But the front door is shared entrance.
Right, yeah.
What do you share for space? Like you share the laundry room, or share the, what else? The kitchen, oh, she has her own kitchen?
Yeah, she has her own kitchenette. The laundry we share, though, that's upstairs.
And she does have a separate bathroom down there.
Yeah.
Full bath?
Yeah, full bath.
I don't know, what's the pleasure of the board?
When you bought the house, you knew that this here was it was sold as an in-law apartment?
Yeah, he told us that he had come here before and, had it approved as an in-law, and
Do
that we probably have to do the same.
Yes, Paul?
So we didn't know about it when we bought it.
So, they're the new owners, just a suggestion to the board. The special permit was granted, I'm assuming, under certain stipulations and what was presented to the board at that time. I'm not sure if the new owners would know what was presented and what was, applied for at that time. So, assuming that it would be the same as it was then, I think you could take the stance that, it would meet the criteria of the original special permit. But without knowing, and they wouldn't know either as new owners, what was approved or disapproved.
Have you ever been in the house?
I've not been in the
Or to recall it or anything?
Or do you want me to go see if I can find the original decision?
That, I think that's probably the best thing.
Okay. Let me do that.
why don't we continue that, we'll move on to the next one, and we'll get right back to you. I suppose we need a vote to... Just continue, or just do... Yeah, she's just gonna go get it. Actually, yeah. Probably just... We're gonna take like a 5-minute recess, I'll be right there. After that brief recess, we have I have a letter here from, regarding petition number 822, which is dated November 12, 2014, to William and Maria Scott of 108 Haywood Street in Halifax, Mass. At the meeting held on Monday, November 10th, 2014, the Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals voted to grant the petition 822 for a special permit for the existing in-law apartment to your existing home at 108 Haywood Street, is shown on Assessors Map 12, Lot 10, in accordance with the zoning bylaws of the town of Halifax. The permit was granted as the home had a pre-existing in-law apartment, and due to the time period the in-law apartment was built, met the criteria of the bylaw for the in-law apartments. The goes on to say, there's conditions for granting the special permit for the in-law apartment are as follows. The in-law apartment cannot become an income-producing apartment. The special permit shall run with the owner and not with the property. The special permit is not transferable. The special permit for the in-law apartment is granted for a period of 5 years. Upon expiration of the permit, the applicant shall come back before the board and apply for an extension. The special permit was granted based on the plans and testimony presented at the hearing. Any changes from what was presented and approved must be brought back to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Please be advised that all variants or special permits shall comply with all the rules, regulations, and the Code of Halifax. And this was sincerely Deborah Tinkham, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals. So you said that, as far as you know, there's been no changes or anything, none that you have made modifications or anything like that? I would recommend that we do make a copy of this for the petition, so they do have this on file, but it was, as I read, approved back in November 2014. Anybody else have any further questions? Or what is the pleasure of the board at this juncture, where we do have an application in a petition 822 on file? How does the board feel? What do you think?
I think it's fine. I think it covers it.
Yeah?
Yeah, previously approved.
Okay, we'll proceed then. Do I have a motion regarding petition number, what did I say it was?
916.
Here it is.
I'll make a motion to accept petition number 916 for an extension for the in-law apartment.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve petition as presented. Voting on this is Kasia, myself, Bob, Jerry, and Dan. You're going to vote on this one.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes 5-0 to 0. Okay, we'll sign off on that. You can talk to Alana about the paperwork, having to file it down in the Registry of Deeds and the appeal period and all that. Okay?
Thank you.
Do we have, oh, you got it right there. Do with it. We're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
know what, why don't you put this with it? If you want, Alon, why don't you make them copies, you know, or at least when they come back to do the paperwork and stuff
I
on it.
have your email, right? On the application?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, I can send you
Thank you.
Oh, there it is, right there in front of me. I was going crazy looking for it. Okay, let's move on to petition 902. The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, October 7th. October 7th.
And continued from them.
This was continued. In meeting room number 1 of the Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. On the application by David A. Rhoda /Scroll Contracting Company to build an addition for an in-law apartment to be located at 292 Thompson Street, Halifax, Mass. Said property is owned by Maurice Isa and Myrna Habib of 292 Thompson Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. As shown on Assessors Map 89, Lot 1C, title reference book 36989, page 311. The applicant is seeking a special permit and variance to construct a 24 by 36 addition and a 16 by 18 sunroom. As this addition will be 1,152 square feet, larger than 50% of the first floor living space of the main residence, the applicant is also seeking a variance to waive this requirement for an in-law apartment in accordance with zoning bylaws of the town of Halifax under Schedule of Use Regulations 167-7D12. Area is zoned agricultural residential, petition number 902. Hi, oh, there you are.
Good evening, gentlemen. David Rhoda here. This is basically the addendum to the original application. I kind of amplified the area of where there was a concern of what we plan to do. There it is. This particular one is right off my certified plot plan, and this is just a sketch I gave you just so we understand where our common area is going to be. I apologize, I only had 5.
Sorry.
Okay. So I have the original here if needed, but basically, gentlemen, the situation arose and we've kind of figured out, so the proposed in-law, existing dwelling, proposed in-law is to the left rear of the dwelling. And this is common area here, this is living space, her entrance is here. I do have it on a floor plan if we needed it. But we're going to create a 9-foot by 10-foot, 90 square foot den area, 6-foot cased opening from the proposed, and also a 6-foot cased opening from the existing dwelling into so both of these areas, both the sunroom and the den would be common area now. No, both 6-foot openings. The private entrance would be off to the left side as you're looking at the
Of the
plan.
proposed?
Correct.
So from the proposed dwelling,
So she'll have
oh,
2
yeah,
means of
okay,
it.
there it is there.
Yeah.
And there's a entranceway from the existing dwelling into the
Right,
9 by
right.
12.
So they'll both access this common area that's highlighted in orange. That's going to become a den adjacent to the proposed sunroom. This is all going to be on grade. This will be above grade at floor elevation for both existing dwelling and the in-law.
Now, is there a entranceway from the proposed dwelling straight into the sunroom this way? Or do you have to go through the den?
So if that was a requirement, I would, but that would be because we kind of shifted things around and our kitchen moved over to here, that I didn't want to
okay.
penetrate the kitchen wall to get into the sunroom. But if it was a requirement, there is an area where I could add an entrance to that area, but they'll both come from the common area into the sunroom, save square footage inside the sunroom as well.
Okay, has the square footage changed of the proposed?
Yes, sir. This did here, this 90 square feet here.
So
It's the
in the
only way I
application...
could make it a,
Right, but in the application, it says it'd be 1,152. That does not include the 9 by 10
correct.
den.
Keep bearing that if this, we are considering this living space, huh? Because it's a floor. See, the in-law, Myrna's mother, the owner's mother, who's living here, she's from Florida, so everybody has a lanai. Basically, I'm creating a fancy lanai for her, so I didn't realize that was considered living space, but yes, in answer to your question, if that's living space, then it would be 90 square foot above and beyond the application, sir.
And this is 16 by 18?
Yes, sir.
Now, is there an entranceway from the existing house into the...
Yes, right,
The nine-
here. This green as well.
Oh, I mean,
So
other than the 9 by 10?
no, only from ground, into the sunroom,
Right.
from the grade, from ground. So basically, there's,
Here's the house.
correct. So she has sliders here, so here's her backyard, the kids are playing the pool. They could enter from the ground, so this is gonna be an on-grade door would be here on this, and this would be, this portion is gonna be winterized, what's in orange, and then the 3 steps down into this Florida room. So it can either be accessed by both from the yard or by both from the den.
Questions, gentlemen from the board?
This is what he's submitting.
This was the one that was submitted before, and then they asked for the continuance,
Right.
and until, because of the, how big were the openings here?
So originally, there was a 3-foot opening. See, there's an existing 6-foot opening, not a 6-foot, I could show you a picture, actually, it might help you understand. So originally, sir, this is the rear of the dwelling. So this deck, you can see the deck is kind of outlined. There's the decks, the existing deck is this deck right here. So originally, this window here was going to become the doorway into the in-law, which would be approximately in that area there. So that was gonna be the common entrance into the in-law, and this was just gonna, and it was basically the mother-in-law's sunroom. But we know the issues we have, so to create a 6-foot opening, then I'm creating this den area where I can actually have 2 6-foot openings, one from the
Okay,
in-law
that's my
and one.
question.
Yeah.
So this here and this here are both 6 feet?
Both 6-foot openings. Basically, this is gonna become a cased opening. That's from the existing dwelling in, and but here, that doesn't exist yet. There'll be another 6-foot opening from the in-law into that same mudroom den area.
Gentlemen, anybody have any other questions?
That common area,
Submit.
that
sorry?
common area, it's not built yet? In the orange?
So orange is
I don't know.
proposed, none
Yeah.
of this is built yet, correct.
Did you draw a new plot plan to this, or?
I certainly, I'll have I'll have a new, once I have it all, I'll have my engineer would plot out a new, yes, exactly.
What do we have on file now for a plot plan?
Is common area included in the in-law square footage?
No.
Yeah, I would.
He said it was 90 feet. So that's why I said it'd be 1152 plus 90.
Right, which now it's more than that, because you have to re-advertise, but you include that in the square footage of the in-law.
Well, I have,
You
860,
didn't have to re-advertise to go up.
960, 1060. Yeah, what did you have, 1164?
You applied for 1152
Yeah.
in the application.
So this is an actual certified, undoctored, but it doesn't have what's in orange. I wanted to make sure that flew, but I certainly would go back to the engineer and have that plotted in and described. There's kind of a lot of verbiage there. I'd have them delete the existing deck and everything prior to, I'd be willing to supply a certified plot plan once I had all the concrete done, and then I could delete the existing deck and that stuff, so it would be less confusing in the end, and then I just submit one certified plot plan of the
Before we
foundation.
vote on it, you have to have a certified
Yeah,
plot plan.
we can only vote on what's submitted.
I have a certified plan.
Does it show the 1152 plus the 90?
It shows 1152.
It has to show the 1152 plus the 90 on the plot plan, the way you're gonna build it. Before we vote on it, we're gonna have to
Right,
have
we
that
can
in
only
front of us.
vote on what's submitted, with what's in front of us. It can't be contingent upon, you know, a new submittal or whatnot. We can only vote on what's presented to us.
Right now, we can't vote on anything.
I'm gonna take that one on me because this is my mother that's gonna be living in it, and right now her actual living space is 900 square feet, and there's no way we can figure out adding and taking away from her space to have the common area. So that's kind of why I said, I can't take away even a square foot from her anymore.
Right, well, this is the floor, this is the plot plan that, with the original submission of for the petition. And if there's a substantial change, we certainly have to have that on file.
And if we had it without that room, if we just had it right into the sunroom with a 6-foot entrance each way, and that wasn't considered.
Which
We
is,
didn't have the den, we didn't add the den in, I'm saying. If we
yeah,
just
but
went-
what you're asking for right now is
It's
different
different,
than what it is right here.
Yeah.
If you're gonna ask for that, you have to ask for that.
I understand, no, I understand. But we came originally and we asked for it, and I don't know how we got lost, but what I'm saying is if we didn't ask for the additional 90 feet, the 10 by 9, and we went right into the sunroom from my end with 6 feet, and from her end with 6 feet, would that be satisfactory?
Not right now, it won't be.
No, you'd have to
You have to
go through the whole thing again.
You have to do
Saying
the
if
whole
I
thing.
brought a plot plan with that.
What you're asking for has to be in front of us. What you're
Even with the
asking
90
for,
With the 90 square foot room, like that, for me, it looks better with the shared living space and the 6-foot opening. Like, it's way better than the last time we saw it, but the plot plan we have doesn't reflect those changes. I think that's the only issue, you know?
That is the only issue.
Okay, no, that's it.
Manageable.
So, in all fairness to my client, I didn't want to impose any more burden on her financially with me going back to this well 15 times, but certainly that we can extend, or whatever the proper wording is for that, will adjust the 90 square feet, right? So we'll change, my math actually is, so we can word it that exact square footage. I have 864 plus 90 plus 288. So I'd like to reflect that in next month, that if we get this drawing will depict that. If I
It
have.
has to, right,
Yeah, I'll have it depicted so that square footage is called out.
Right.
And may I respectfully request that I delete the existing deck so the new drawing will look more like it is, you know, I'll have them delete. This is superimposed in there to show you kind of where it is in relation to that picture, but if I delete that and draw everything else in per this here, then we bring it to the board whenever, next Monday or whatever, would that, I mean, the next meeting, would that be a reasonable request?
it has to show what you really want.
You
No,
don't need the
no
existing deck.
addition, no subtraction.
Yep,
You
no
just need
dashed
what you're
lines.
gonna do. I don't think he needs the existing deck on there, just what he's gonna do.
Yeah. I mean, the engineer puts it on only because it's there right now, when he's saying, here, there's a certified place, he certifies that exists. I'm gonna say, listen, just,
Yeah, but what you got here is not here.
That, I'm not arguing that fact at all,
Right.
correct. The orange is not depicted on that
You
drawing.
gotta have, and we go to a bank and you ask them for finances, they say, where is this thing going on?
Yeah,
You know?
What do we got
the
for
only
time
other
on
thing
this?
that I could see, like, it looks
Do
way
we-
better
do we have
to me
an
than the
extension
last
on it
time.
already?
Like, I don't think it's an issue. The only issue I can foresee is if the square footage of what you're building
So we have 20.
is higher than what the
So we need
petition
an
asks for.
Yeah.
Because we can't change what was advertised from the original petition. So I don't know how it all adds up. Because I don't know what you were saying earlier, so that's another,
So-
from going up from what's advertised, right?
They need to re-advertise it because your square footage is going up, correct, because of the 90 feet?
No. That's-
So, but, so maybe for ease of pretty much everything, because then it would have to be re-advertised and all that, is that what we're
Right, just
saying?
changing the value.
So I could change the so between this common area and the sunroom, I could make it equal what's in the request. In other words, that 16 by 18 would no longer space 16 by 8, it might be 11 by 17, whatever it is, right? Subtract 9, if I subtract 90
That's right.
feet from
Yeah,
the, right?
Our only issue, yeah, whatever that
Just
is.
whatever the math, we want the math to
Yeah.
equal the
Yeah,
petition.
the math has to equal the petition.
Yeah, we can't go up.
I'm sorry, so we're getting a smaller sunroom?
Or yeah, 90 square feet smaller. Or
Re-advertise, it's
re-advertise.
just going in the newspaper, correct?
It could,
It's not
we'd have to,
It's
or
not
re-advertise.
You can re-advertise.
This is what you
Before next
want,
month.
Do the 11
and this is what you put
point,
down.
11.
They have to re-advertise.
Right? Because if we're gonna start cutting it all out again, you're not
But it's
getting.
just-
We're increasing the
That's
non-conformity,
what we,
should be, yeah.
Yeah, you just re-advertise.
Right, because basically if we're increasing the non-conformity, then
But that's
that's how
fairly,
we ran into problems the last time.
Would we not-
The abutters, it has to be
it's not
advertised.
the advertising request, it would be the time.
I mean,
I
can we
wouldn't
make a
mind
petition and then re-advertise it
re-advertising
next
if we
month?
could get on next.
Right.
I'd be comfortable with and paying for the re-advertisement if we could, if there's enough time for me to get on next month's
I
meeting
don't know how that works.
and petition
If it's
for
a
whatever
substantial
that
change,
additional 90
You know, where
square
we're
feet.
increasing the
Does
non-conformity.
that sound right?
Would it be an application or just a
And if it's gonna be
re-advertise, I believe. I think that's how
re-advertised,
we've done it before.
you know, it's just
So
rewording.
I just
Petition number,
$80, we
whatever it was.
re-advertise for the additional amount, and then I could just come in and see you like a day this week and
I feel bad,
whatever.
because
the-
it's such a mess.
Okay, so that's the way I believe I'd like to proceed,
Once bigger, it
okay?
has to make
And then
a
we
lot
do an
bigger.
extension.
Oh, really?
Because
Like a year of talking
90
about.
days would be before the next meeting,
Okay.
so.
Are you having them draw that up now?
What's that?
The extension?
Yeah, I'm gonna have it
Okay,
signed.
30 days should be fine, it'll take us well past, because the extension you gave us before expires, we don't want that to expire, so if you give us another, at the board another 30 days, you'll be able to provide the criteria that's required.
Correct.
That's fine.
And it gets us, when's the next meeting? It gets us past that date?
Yes, February 11th.
February 10th.
February 10th.
February 10th?
Just make sure your drawing reflects exactly what you get.
I think that we were just a little, we didn't want to.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that.
I'll retrieve this, you guys can hold on to that, but I'll just take this just because I already have this doctored up. But just,
Yeah, that's hers, that's ours, that has to stay with her. That one that was right
That's a
here.
big one, yeah. That
No.
was
Big-
a big file.
huh?
The big one that was right here was the one that's in our file, we need to keep that one. Because that was the original petition.
I would respectfully say that
I give it to you.
you are correct.
Right,
It's even
in
Steve.
that back, that was in our original file. So, right now-
Somewhere I lost mine.
Just glad to be on board with this one.
Can I just hold on to these? I think these were all submitted to you guys.
just now, right?
No, I think in
Tonight.
October.
I don't know if I had
Those,
those in
you
my
guys.
hand.
Yeah, those you got, it's just a picture, so I have.
This one's done.
Okay, so that at the request of the applicant for a 30-day extension, I'll entertain a motion from the members of the board to allow the 30-day extension to petition number 902.
I'll make a motion for petition 902 to continue it to our February 10th meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor of accepting the extension, 30-day extension on petition 902, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you, John.
I mean, maybe that'll be it.
Holy crap. Okay, the next one on our agenda is petition number 912 from Mr. Scott Burgess on 8 Hilda Lane, a special permit for a two-family home. We were notified, Alana, that they withdrew that petition? So that petition's been withdrawn. All right, moving on to, what's that? I'm sorry?
Motion.
To allow the withdrawal?
Yeah.
What?
Accept it.
Okay, do I have accept a, yes, sir.
Does that mean it's withdrawn at this time, or can
It's withdrawn at this time.
you can't
Correct.
move forward on it, or?
We cannot move forward on it, no, not if they withdraw the petition.
It's put on hold.
Put it hold.
No, it's withdrawn, there's no hold.
Oh, no, I mean,
You have to resubmit.
Yeah, they may want to, he may want to do it down the road sometime, but as far as the board's concerned, it is not on hold, it's withdrawn. He can, he certainly has the right to. I'll accept a motion regarding to accept the withdrawal of petition number 912.
I'll make a motion for petition 912 to accept the withdrawal letter without prejudice.
Do I have a second?
Second?
There's a motion and a second to accept the withdrawal of petition number 912. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes. Okay, we're flying now.
Actually on time.
Oh, here's the letter of agreement with withdrawal. You know what, I should probably read this another record. Actually, Alana, did they send a letter to requesting the withdrawal, or they just notify you?
It's right on the front. He signed the withdrawal.
Okay, so we do have the letter of agreement for withdrawal right there. Okay, that's great. Thank you. All right, seeing that it's, we got. 913. Okay, petition number 913. Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, December 9th, 2019 at 7:15 p.m. in meeting room 1 of the Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. on the application by John and Tina Marie Harrington for the special permit and variance to build a garage located at 9 Beach Road, Halifax, Mass. Said property is owned by John and Tina Harrington of 9 Beach Road, Halifax, Mass. as shown on Assessors Map 43, Lot 15, Title Reference Book 24187, page 161. The applicants are seeking a special permit to construct a 24 by 26 garage, which would constitute a continuation of a non-conforming use and an extension of a non-conforming use, as well as a variance of the front setback from Doris Road from 50 feet to 8 feet, and the front setback from Beach Road from 50 feet to 25 feet in accordance with the zoning bylaws of the town of Halifax under section 167 8A, 8C, and 11. Area is zoned residential, petition number 913. Mr. and Mrs. Harrington. Oh, there you are. Hey, Jack, how are you? How did I miss you? Sorry. Well, we went out on the site inspection on Saturday, and Mr. Harrington did have the detached garage all staked out, you know, as agreed upon at the previous meeting. Bob, Dan, would you like to add anything? Any questions or anything from the board? I did note that on Doris Road, just as was presented at the previous meeting, even though it says 8 feet, there is a it's closer to almost 15 feet from where would be the end of the detached garage to the road. And between the position where the garage is to be located, there's a gigantic rock. I mean, it's gigantic. It's pretty big. And as far as Beach Road went, the addition does not extend any further than the frontage of the existing residence now. It's posing no further nonconformity or adding to the nonconformity as far as the front setback on Beach Road goes. Due to the topography there and whatnot, the way the land, we could all see how it was draining out and whatnot. And certainly, I think he's limited to where the actual garage could be located, changing the access way to the property or to the detached garage now on Doris Road. And as far as fitting within the established character of the neighborhood, there is numerous other detached garages that are a heck of a lot closer than 15 feet. I do feel that the addition, although certainly is not going to impose, as far as its construction heights, is going to be the same height as the existing residence now. So I do feel myself personally that it would fit within the established character of the neighborhood, and is certainly does not derogate from, I don't feel, derogates from the intent of the bylaw. I don't know how you other gentlemen feel about it. Any questions to the applicant? He's right here, or what you may have. Pretty cut and dry, I thought.
Pretty limited on the placement of it. You can't move it close to the house. Yeah, I think you're gonna have drainage issues, so, and to the road from where you're gonna build it is probably about 20 feet or so. Your access, that big boulder's in the way, the other off of Beach Street, you got trees, telephone poles.
Those trees, right?
Yeah,
I forgot the trees.
I think you're very
Be
limited.
concerned, but that's something that will be worked out, for sure.
And there's other garages, houses that are pretty close to the road, so I don't think it derogates from the intent of the bylaw. Fits within the established character of the neighborhood.
Yeah, it'll be built to match the house too, so it'll look right.
I think it was very well thought out where it is.
Okay, voting on this will be Kasia, Peter, myself, Bob, and Jerry. Okay, I'll accept a motion, unless there's any other further questions of the applicant. I'll accept a motion regarding petition number 913.
I'll make a motion to accept petition number 913 as
Second.
presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second regarding petition 913 on Doris Road and Beach Road in Halifax. All those in favor say aye. Aye. It passes 5-0 to 0. All right, Jack, you can see Alana. She'll give you the, the paperwork you have to file down at the Registry of Deeds and give you all the information that would be required.
Okay,
All righty?
all right, thank you.
Yep.
Now we're.
Okay, and they come back to you? Okay, thanks.
Bert,
Yes.
that was what you gave me earlier.
What's this one?
You gave me that earlier.
Oh. Okay, seeing that it's not 8 o'clock, that's when the schedule for petition 914 is by Daniel and Karen Gomes at 33 Bow Street.
I wanted to give you this. I'm your butter.
I don't feel comfortable reading this out loud. My concern is if they put windows, there goes all my privacy. I just want you to read it.
Okay, thank you very much. Why don't we take a break until 8 o'clock, because that's when it's published to be heard. Okay, we'll just recess now until 8 o'clock.
You better go.
We'll reconvene after the recess. We'll now hear petition number 914. The original petition of 914. The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 13th, 2020 at 8 p.m. in the Great Hall at the Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. on the application by Daniel and Karen Gomes to remediate violations for their project located at 33 Bow Street, Halifax, Mass. Said property is owned by Daniel and Karen Gomes of 33 Bow Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338, as shown on the Assessors Map 19, Lot 9928. Title reference book 23230, page 85. The applicants are seeking a special permit to remediate violations for their project on lots 928-935, which constitute a continuation of a non-conforming use, alteration and extension of a non-conforming use, sections 167(8)A, 8B, and 8C. The applicants are also seeking variances to remediate violations for the same project on lots 928-935 due to the setback requirements of the town of Halifax, sections 167-11 from 167-12F. 1, front setback from 50 feet to 32 feet, 2, rear setback from 40 feet to 21 feet, and 3, right side setback from 30 feet to 9 feet. Area is zoned residential, petition number 914. Mr. and Mrs. Gomes, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You want to explain to us what your changes are from our original meeting and how you're going to, what you're proposing? Please come on up.
Original meeting was, I was on property line of my neighbors, which obviously...
That's to the right of the...
Correct.
Okay.
Which at the time, we weren't aware of course, because the structure has been there for over 23 years. So, long story short, the two structures had rotted out, so I built a structure around the two structures, thinking I was conforming in the same area. And unfortunately, that's not true. So what I've done now is there was a question of conforming with the neighborhood on how the structure looked, because I had a shed dormer on the front. So I've eliminated the dormer on the front, went with a 12-pitch roof, which is what every other house looks like, with a 12-pitch roof and a dormer in the back, and I've cut an additional 12 feet off of the shed to get further away from the abutter's property line.
Okay, do we have a new floor plan, blueprint?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Were you planning on putting windows in?
Can you hold on, please? All the questions go through the chair, and I'll open it up later till we find out what's going on. Thank you. This is it? That's the original one, right? This is it. 914.
Dated 11/13.
Yep. That's the right one.
Okay, so just so we know what's changed, this remains the same, the 21 feet and the 29 feet from the rear?
Correct.
From the rear. And what did you eliminate? The carport, or what did you, is that what it was, the
That's
carport?
correct.
So now, instead of 1 foot, this is 9.2 feet?
Yes.
And 10.8 feet?
Correct.
Do you have a rendition of the, is this the changed?
Yes, originally I had this shed dormer on front and back, so I eliminated this to make it not look like a giant wall when you pulled in. This here obviously is for headroom to get up into the gonna be a lofted area now, but originally this had a shed dormer on the front with 4 windows.
And this would be
This
looking,
would be the side right here, like an entrance door through here. So that would be looking through this side. This being the front, as if that. And that's the back, it's just a,
no windows in
just
the
a wall.
back.
No windows in the back.
And that's, this is existing now, the garage door?
It is existing now, yes. I moved it over like 4 feet.
Okay, and what about this side? Is there access there? Oh, there's a
No.
picture of that.
There is not.
There's nothing.
No.
There's-
So the
that's-
only access is through the side pass door and the garage door. That is it.
What about access to the loft area? You said where you wanted to store,
I'm trying to put a set of some sort of stairs going up there to store stuff up there.
and it's to be used only as storage?
Yes, well, yes, now, well, now, yes.
Well, that's what you told us originally. It was just going to be storage.
Well, I
and-
was gonna have my workshop up there, do some workshop, but now with the 12-pitch roof coming down, there's not enough headroom in the whole area up there, so yes.
But we need the storage.
I'm sorry?
We need it for storage.
So,
Any other questions from members of the board before I open it up to the audience? Yep.
What's the ground floor area? I don't know if it's in here.
It was reduced by how
it's
much?
500 and
500 square foot even.
on the bottom. Now you have an additional 200 up. So you're
Yeah,
a
just the
total
ground
of
floor.
708.
8.
Yeah, the only reason I ask is I just want to make sure it's under the 884.
It's 16.1 by 31.4 for square footage wise. What does that come out to?
25%.
505, yeah.
So we're still good as far as that. Okay, as far as, what are we sending out there for utilities? It's gonna have power, obviously. Is it gonna be heated?
Wood stove. That's what I've always had out there. So yes, it would be heated by wood stove.
Wood stove only? Is there plumbing going out there, water?
No.
No, so it's just lights and heat?
Correct.
What about its use? I know we had discussed that also. This is your own personal, this is not any type of commercial venture? There's no commercial business being run out? There is no commercial use of the property?
No.
All right.
That you do not have to worry about.
No.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Okay, thank you very much. I'll open it to questions from the audience. If you could just state your name and for the record. Yes, sir? And your address? On Bow Street?
On Bow Street.
What number, sir?
27.
47.
And he's run a business out of there for a long time. And he's been cutting wood constantly for years. So now he got a bigger workshop, that's all. And if he wants to just park trucks and cars in that place, that's fine. Use it for storage, great. But it's a big house.
Okay.
That's what
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am. Your name and your address, please?
117 Trinity Ave. Went from a small structure to it looks like another house there. And the reason why we picked this lot was because of the privacy, and now it's up another story. And it's like, there goes all the privacy, that's why we bought the house.
No, where are you located? Are you like
I'm
right
behind
behind it? Okay.
Right behind them, and it's like right, you can see the picture. I'm not too happy about it.
Oh, let me
I'd like
Let
to
me
see
read this
that.
into the
Please read
record.
that.
By the way, I received this tonight. I'm objecting to the application for the following reasons. The structure will affect my property value. Number two, this building was put there in bad faith. There were no permits obtained before starting construction. They decided to build, and when they got caught, they asked or requested variances. I would have objected to the project if they had requested the building permits originally. What kind of example or precedent for the other property owners will this be setting? I would like to have it removed because it's in violation of several zoning bylaws. They have not provided a reasonable explanation or reason as to why it should be allowed. Because they lose money is not a reasonable explanation. Linda Horn, 7 Trinity Ave, Halifax, Mass. And you're not Linda Horn.
Yes, I am.
Oh, I thought when you said Diaz, my fault. Gentlemen, what is the pleasure of the board? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't see your hand, Mike.
So as far as us like moving it someplace else,
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's a few reasons why it can't be moved. First of all, I mean, we're on the paper road, so going right through our property, so that does hinder us a lot with the paper road. Second of all, the house that she lives in, they have a shed that's there, and you had said, well, maybe we can move it down. That shed is like, if I can show you, that's her shed, and that's, like, that's where our garage is, and that's her shed. It's basically right on our property line. That's the flag there to the property line. So it would be hard for us to move it down, because
Down
the
as
shed's
in
right there.
away from the street? Down?
Right, down
Is that what you mean?
far.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the third reason is, to be honest with you, I have pictures too. We get flooded down there at the end of the dead-end street. There's no drainage, and I have pictures, we get flooded. We have sinkholes on the property that fill up. We're surrounded front, and the whole back is all open water, drain off or runoff from Mount Pleasant. So, I mean, we're surrounded by water really there, except for where that side of the shed is. So
All right,
we
thank
do
you.
have some,
This is your property.
yeah, that's the shed, and that's the other one right there. That's a garage, it's like a cement garage.
And that's right on the property line?
Yeah, and you guys probably had a hard time seeing that before. I know before you said, somebody said, oh, what shed? But it's right there on the property line.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that where I started? That's the flag to our property line? And the shed that we're building is like literally right there.
Corners, no water.
You can keep the pictures if you want.
That's commercial use, and that it not be subdivided. It remains with the property. Because remember they said there was 15 small lots.
Are there windows on that back?
So it's not to be subdivided.
No windows in the back
I don't know.
at all.
No windows in the back at all?
That'll be a tough one. What's that?
Correct, no windows in the back
Is it
at
11?
all.
There's not living quarters.
Because that would
Right.
eliminate all
Absolutely.
privacy. Yeah, it's,
Or
yeah.
to be sold
No, I
separate.
understand that.
It just says garage.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Your name, please?
John Cameron.
Yep.
Hi. Now, town of Halifax was gonna build a road on Bow Street. I mean, put it all new road in, and because they cul-de-sac in the bottom, they had to stop the road, which was, they were gonna put the drains and everything in, and they stopped it.
Right.
No, they stopped it from putting in the cul-de-sac, so they couldn't put the road in.
I stopped it?
Yep, you did. You told them they couldn't put a cul-de-sac in. And they stopped the road. They had it measured, they put town money into it, surveyed it, had it all ready to go, and stopped it.
I don't know how that could happen, to be perfectly honest with you, but
Well,
that you can't put a cul-de-sac on private property.
Well, it wasn't part of the major road.
Right. There's several non-conforming paper roads in Halifax that actually don't exist but are on paper.
pylons inside, and they had it all ready to go. And it started.
Okay, thank you,
Highway
sir.
department paid for it.
Thank you. You all set, Mrs. Cohen?
Thank you.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board? Unless there's any other further questions from board members or anything, we good? I'll accept entertain a motion regarding petition.
I'll make a motion to accept petition, where the heck petition? Oh, petition number 914, with conditions that it used only as a garage with no living quarters, that there be no commercial use in the building at all, and there be no plumbing as it's presented. Anything else?
Anybody else have any other conditions or anything
No
that?
windows in the back,
I'm sorry?
no windows in the back, privacy seems to be an issue.
And the construction as presented in the plans. Right.
Yes, any deviation from what's presented would have to come back before the board. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Gomes, there was did you hear all the conditions?
Yes.
Okay, are you going to be able to live with those conditions? You have to say that that's no problem, or
Originally, yes.
or and you certainly have the right to withdraw your petition without prejudice if you don't feel that you can comply with them.
Absolutely okay with that. That was the intention.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. I personally feel when we went out on the site inspection that due to the hardship, the topography of the lot, where you could see when we were there that it is wet, the water does drain down the paper road into the back. I do feel that it is within the established character of the neighborhood. There are quite a few homes, garages, detached garages that are certainly very, very close to the lot line on Bow Street. And now with the changes as they presented them, I do think it does not derogate from the intent of the bylaw. It's just my own personal feelings on that. I don't know how the other members feel. Any other suggestion? We do have a motion and a second, if you'd like to,
No,
anything
as
you
long
want?
as he pulls permits.
I'm sorry?
As long as he pulls permits for the...
Oh, yes, that is certainly, you'd have to do that. You know, you'll meet with Mr. Picarelli and get that all squared away. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Voting on this is Keziah, Peter, myself, Bob, and Jerry. Yes. Keziah, how are you voting?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
And Jerry? Passes 5-0 to 0. Okay, if you can meet with Alana, she'll have you show you the paperwork, fill out the paperwork, and tell you what you have to do as far as the appeal period and whatnot. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have all the revisions on file. They gave you copies of all that, right?
You were busy, I just handed on it, I would have. You're the chair, you tell me what to do.
I'll tell you.
I don't want any trouble.
You can name a vice chair, you can name a resident.
No, I don't know about that. Sure there's some bylaw that has to do with that, with somebody come in here and yell at me.
Again.
Again. And then come back the next month.
Yell at you some more.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, seeing that it's 8:19, let's move on to petition number 915. The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, January 13th, 2020 at 8:15 PM in the Great Hall, Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass, on the application by the Party Trust for a modification to a special permit for Amanda's Estates, a multifamily development located off Elm Street, Halifax, Mass. Said property is owned by the party trust, is shown on Assessors Map 15, Lot 13, A1, A2, D8, and D7. Title reference book 49506, page 64. The applicant seeks a modification to the special permit issued to the party trust on January 20th, 2015 to reference and adopt a new site plan for the development prepared by Webby Engineering entitled Amanda Estates, a multifamily development in Halifax, Mass. Dated July 10th, 2019, revised September 18th, 2019, and revised November 6th, 2019. The Halifax Planning Board approved the party trust request for modification of the site plan approval approved on September 18th, 2014 to adopt the 11/6/19 Webby plans on December 2nd, 2019. The party trust requests that the Zoning Board of Appeals notify the 2015 special permit, to modify the 2015 special permit by deleting reference to the prior plan set and adopt the 11/6/19 Webby plans in accordance with the zoning bylaws of the town of Halifax under section 167(7D) 2A, multifamily development under density regulations for specific uses. Area is zoned residential, petition number 915. Hi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adam Brodsky, and as you know, I represent the Party Trust. With me this evening are Amanda Monti and Ed Johnson, Board of Trustees, and Steve Kotowski from Webby Engineering. And you may remember when we were last in front of you, we had presented a plan to you to modify our existing special permit to take advantage of what we were trying to do at that point was get a waiver of the requirement to have each building on a separate lot, similar to what was done for Halifax Trails in 2016. So we had presented first to the planning board and then to you a plan showing no lot lines. So it was one parcel that would reflect that waiver. The planning board requested, before they took action on that we come before you. We came before you, and while the board voted to approve the modification, we didn't have the requisite votes for a super majority. So we had to go back to the drawing board. At least one of the members who voted no against that modification had concerns regarding lots, and each of the lots having the requisite 150 feet of frontage. It's always been our position that for a multifamily building, you don't need that. I can explain why, but I don't think it's relevant this evening. Because what we did was to revise the plan to show 4 lots, each of which has 150 feet of frontage on Amanda's Way. Amanda's Way is a constructed private way that was previously approved by this board in the special permit, as well as by the planning board by site plan review. What we present is the same number of units, 12. As you know, there are 4 units that are already constructed. Those remain the same. So there'll be 2 existing units on lot 1, 2 existing units on lot 2. And then with respect to the other units, we've shifted them so that lot, the remaining lot, 4 units on one and 4 units on the other. The density is the same. The distance between the buildings meets your multifamily development requirements. Septic remains the same. Everything is the same, except we're presenting a plan that now shows 4 lots. Each of those lots has 150 feet of frontage on Amanda's Way. As the chair had mentioned, we had presented this to the planning board, and the planning board voted to modify their site plan approval to adopt this plan. And so we're asking this board to do the same. And Steve's here to go through the plan if you want more information, and Ed and Amanda are here to answer questions. So we're simply coming back to you after getting approval of this plan from the planning board.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Charlie, I didn't see you before.
No.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, you might want to, before getting into the details and merits of the application, to take a look at the letter that you received from the Land Use Council, and the ZBA could then make a decision whether this is right for discussion and for a decision, or instead suggest another course of action to the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we received a letter, January 10th, 2020, from a Land Use Council, Amy Kressel, by email. Mr. Robert Gaynor, Chair, Zoning Board of Appeals, Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, regarding Party Trust, Amanda Estates, Elm Street, Halifax. Dear Chairman Gaynor and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you have asked for an opinion regarding the Party Trust, the applicant, current application for a modification of a 2015 special permit for Amanda Estates for a proposed multifamily development off of Elm Street. Specifically, you have inquired about the procedure of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 16, and the zoning bylaw, 167-22, as a previous modification request was denied by the Zoning Board of Appeals on November 4th, 2019, by not receiving the requisite number of positive votes. Referencing General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 16 states, no appeal application or petition which has been unfavorably or finally acted upon by the special permit granting or permit granting authority shall be acted favorably upon within 2 years after the date of final and approval action, unless said special permit granting authority or permit granting authority finds by a vote of 4 members of a board of 5 members specific and material changes in the conditions upon which the previous unfavorable action was based, and describes such changes in the record of its proceedings. The statute continues by stating that no appeal, application, or petition shall be acted favorably upon, quote, unless all but one of the members of the planning board consents thereto and after notice is given to parties in interest at the time and place of the proceedings when the question of such consent will be considered. I.e., however, Section 167.22 of the Halifax zoning bylaws imposes a greater requirement. Section 167.22 states, quote, no appeal or petition of a variance under 167.21A3 and no application for a special permit under 167.21A2, which has been unfavorably acted upon by the Board of Appeals, shall be considered on its merits by said board within 2 years after the vote of such unfavorable action, except with the unanimous consent of the planning board. Therefore, as the Zoning Board of Appeals is the special permit granting authority, in my opinion, the planning board must first, after notice to parties in interest, unanimously consent to the reapplication. See Paquin versus Board of Appeals of Barnstable, 27 Mass, Appellate Court 577-581, 1989. Section 16 requires planning board involvement only as a precedent to favorable Board of Appeals actions. See also Daniel versus Harrington, 22 Land Court Review 315, 317 through 318, 2014. Chapter 40A, Section 16, prohibits the board from considering the merits of a reapplication unless it finds there are specific and material changes in the subsequent application and obtains the consent of all but one of the members of the planning board. Buckland versus Conover, 25 LCR 52, 2017. Further, if the planning board unanimously consents to the reapplication, then in my further opinion, the zoning board must find by a vote of at least 4 members that they have been specific and material changes and describe such changes in the records of its proceedings. Please do not hesitate to comment if you have any additional questions with respect to this matter. Very truly yours, Amy E. Kessel. Anything else you want to add to that, Charlie?
Well, as I mentioned, I think that the ZBA may want to discuss whether it's right for the presentation and discussion and possible decision on the special permit application, or instead, we might want to discuss this with the applicant and suggest that the matter be continued to a certain date and time, possibly expand the amount of time allowed under the law for the discussion and decision on a special permit application, to allow the applicant to go back to the planning board for a decision by the planning board on the merits of what Attorney Kessel had written in her letter. That way would avoid complication of whether or not the ZBA was in its rights at this point to make a decision. So, but that would be something between you and the applicant. If the applicant doesn't wish to continue or expand the amount of time, that's obviously a decision the applicant can make. And I'm not going to speak for the applicant on that.
Did you get it or receive a copy of that?
No, Mr. Chair, but I am familiar with 48 Section 16, which is the repetitive petition requirements. And it's my opinion, it doesn't apply to a request for modification because we already have a valid and existing special permit. There's been no denial of a special permit. It's actually been enforced in effect since 2015. We're simply modifying that by adopting a new plan. And if you look at the statute doesn't say anything about modifications. Having said that, I can't give you a case that speaks specifically to modifications. This is something of a novel issue. I've never seen a request for modification be barred using 48 Section 16. There are two cases that I'm familiar with that are somewhat relevant. One is Pingarero versus 654 Mystic Avenue LLC. It's a land court trial decision in 2019. It's not mentioned in Attorney Questel's letter. That actually concerned site plan review. It wasn't a special permit decision. So as I said, there's no precedent that I'm aware of that speaks to this issue directly. And that involved multiple applications for site plan review. It's a confusing case because the plaintiff was arguing that because the original relief shouldn't have been granted, therefore there were repetitive petitions, and therefore that the special permit granting authority couldn't act on it. But the land court stated that where a local zoning board, excuse me, where a local zoning board has acted favorably, and that approval has not been annulled, there's no reason to consider whether the application violates the petition bar. And that's what we have here. What's different in this case, the whole purpose of repetitive petition requirement is that if you get denied a special permit or get denied a variance, you can't come right back in unless you substantially change the project. We don't have that here. We have a valid special permit. We're simply seeking a modification to change the condition of that permit. So the bar is not applicable. I should note, it's interesting, if you take a look closely at your Halifax bylaw, and particularly section 167.21.2, it says no petition for a special permit, which has been acted favorably. We did not submit an application for a special permit to you. All we're seeking to do is modify an existing special permit. So under your bylaw, if you read that literally, it doesn't apply to the relief that we're seeking here. There's another case, and this was actually referenced by Attorney Questel, which is the Paquin decision. Again, it's not directly on point because it concerned repetitive petitions for variances. In fact, it was a constructive approval case where the applicant was claiming constructive approval of variance because of timing issues. But what was interesting about that case, when and I'm familiar with it, is that in a footnote, the court said, the appeals court said that it's unclear whether 48 Section 16 indicates that the planning board is to function simply to approve reconsideration or to endorse favorable action. The appeals court was saying, are they just administratively passing it along to the ZBA, or does that requirement actually require favorable action by the planning board? I just want to remind, we actually have favorable action by the planning board here. So if you send us back to the planning board to consent to send back to you an action that they've already approved, I respectfully suggest is putting form over function in this instance. And as a practical matter, as you're likely aware, the planning board voted 2-1 to grant the modification. The one negative vote was by member Troop, who's here this evening. And as you know, she's a vocal opponent of the project and a business colleague of Mr. Andrews, who's the chair of the planning board. So if you're going to send us back to the planning board to get a unanimous consent, I can almost guarantee you this evening that that will not happen given the politics, which I can't have anything to control. Of course, there would be no reason why they wouldn't consent to send it back to you since they've already granted approval of the modification. So I'm suggesting that 48 section 16 doesn't require them to send us back there. But in this particular case, which is even more unique, the planning board has already ruled and approved the modification. So I don't think that this is barred, and I'd ask this board to consider this request. If you're not going to consider the request and send me back to the planning board, I don't know where you're going to leave us. It's just going to be more of a mess. I'm trying to fix the mess this evening.
Any opinions or from the members of the board? Dan, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm not an attorney, I don't know about you, and it's,
fair to say.
You know, we have 3 attorneys we're hearing over the course of this debacle with 3 different opinions. I mean, I don't understand, as a layperson, I just think it's a modification, you know, but...
You don't see it as a substantial change going from...
Does it say substantial change?
So I can speak to that issue.
It says specific and material changes in condition upon the previous unfavorable action was based and described.
So it is a substantial change. We're going from a plan that doesn't have any lots to 4 lots with frontage, 150 feet of frontage.
And the number of buildings also.
Excuse me?
And the number of buildings
The
also.
number of buildings stays the same, they're just being reallocated. So we're putting 4 buildings on one lot and 4 buildings on the other lot. The other 2 lots remain the same. So it is a substantial change, but actually if you look at the cases that talk about what's required for a substantial change to allow a repetitive petition, and again, I don't even think 4816 applies in this instance. You see that, you know, even minor changes to a site plan have been allowed to go forward as long as there's some material change that's shown. And there's no question that this is a material change, something that we're trying to do to be responsive to the minority members of this board who wanted to see that. So we're doing our very best to comply with what we've been asked by, again, the minority members of this board.
So with that answer, to answer your question, I'm torn between 2 thoughts here. The first one is they've jumped through hoops to make it more in line. It was approved in a certain way back in 2015. In this process, they've done what they could do to make it more in line with our bylaws. So we get to the end here, and just as a layperson, and as a person, I think I'm a fair-minded person, so now we're to the point where they've done everything they can to satisfy the bylaws, and then we pull out the rug out from under them, and I don't think that that's right. On the other side, here is our attorney telling us, you know, we should be sending it back to the planning board, and they can always appeal the planning board decision. So, to the courts, I guess. So, which way to go? I think no matter how we vote, somebody's not going to be happy, you know. So, well, I don't want to just come out and say it, but everybody knows what I mean. There's going to be problems. So, I don't know. How do you get? I'm just as a person. How do you get to this point where? And personally, I think asking them to subdivide is completely wrong. Minimum lot size, 10 acres. So these people are being pulled in every which direction. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. I think they're closer to what everybody's agreeing it should be. So, yeah, okay, so let's call it a substantial change. It's a substantial change to be more accurate. It's not like they're making a change to make it less in line with the bylaws, according to however you want to interpret it. So, I don't know. Those are my 2 thoughts. And the juxtaposed.
Gentlemen, anybody else?
Yeah. I have no idea what they're presenting, and I don't think we can make any decision on this point based on what they're presenting. I think that's totally separate. But I think the question is whether or not the intent of the statute and the bylaw is whether or not they could have modified their previous modification prior to our vote. And if they can continue, if we deny this one, if they can come back the next time with a different modification. And I don't know, like, to his point, it does talk about petition, so I'm not entirely sure from what he's mentioned. We might find out more in a few minutes, but it does seem like the intent is not to continue to bring different things to us after they get denied modifications to lot sizes 54 times. It does seem like that makes sense to say, bring it up once, fix it as you do it. If it doesn't get the votes, it doesn't get the votes. But, I mean, if we deny whatever it is they're presenting today, if we agree to hear this without going to the planning board and get the unanimous consent, then they come back the next time we vote no, and they only get 3 votes next time with a different set of lot lines, because I don't know what it is they're presenting. So it definitely sounds like it would make sense to not continuously bring up petitions to have modifications, but I don't know. Aside from the fact that they've been dragged through the ringer on this, there's no question about that, and that's terrible. But on this specific point, when does it stop?
There should be an end to this project. And right now, the end is whether we fix it here today or we wait. If they send it back to the planning board, they're gonna get the same outcome. No matter where they go, they're gonna get the same outcome. The planning board's gonna give them the same outcome, whether they go today, tomorrow, or next month. It's up to us. If we disapprove it or we approve it, we're gonna take it back to the planning board.
Well,
I mean, it's been what, 4 years, 5 years in the making? Where do we go from here? You can't render that piece of land useless.
It's going to end up in court, so we should follow the process.
It's already been in court.
It's going to continue in court.
It's going to continue in court for how many years? 10 years, 15 years? Where do we go from here?
So it's not
There's an end to this thing.
It's not today.
No, it's not going to be today. But we have to put an end to it. You know?
So what's before us, I believe, Mr. Chairman, if I understand it correct, is we're being told by our attorney to send it back to the planning board because we may not have the right to vote on it according to our attorney unless the planning board unanimously approves
The change, the modifications.
So we have that to consider, or we could, and we should ask the petitioners how they want to proceed. Do they want us to vote, or do they want us?
I look at it as in 2 different questions on it, whether, bottom line, what they presented to the planning board that they just got approval on was the modification to their submitted plan, or if in fact, as I read this, in the point that I think Amy's trying to make to the board, is this or is this not a substantial change that would basically nullify any type of modifications, or should it be reapplied for because of the quote-unquote, substantial change? I think substantial change and modification, we've certainly had plans and petitions in front of us that have been modified as we work through the process of the petition. But whether or not this becomes a substantial change or not, where the number of buildings or the format of the buildings or whatever the case may be, which I believe is the attorney's main concern, that's why she quoted that. I don't know, not to throw it on you, but as a zoning enforcement, would you consider this as would you consider this a substantial change or a modification? Bert, I hate you.
It's on you guys.
Well, I guess if we take a vote, we have to justify why we thought we were allowed to take a vote, from what I'm getting from our attorney. Because her opinion is we need to send it back to the planning board.
So can I clarify something, which is the planning board has already voted to approve the modification. What your bylaw says is that the planning board has got to consent to send a request for modification to you. So it's just asking the planning board to consent to send it back to you. It's not
But it needs
asking
to be
it-
a unanimous vote,
Yes, under your bylaw, not under the state act.
and they're more strict.
Agreed. And as you know, I can predict what is going to happen.
Trust me, I understand.
So I'm suggesting that the way out of this is for this board to find that in fact a modification of a special permit is not subject to.
So what was the modification that was submitted that was voted on by the planning board? Just the lot lines?
Same one you have.
Not the number of buildings, not the size of the buildings,
We're not changing, so the exact same plan that we presented to you is this request for modification of the plan that was approved by the planning board. So all we're asking is that you also approve the modification, because we have two permits. We have site plan review, which is governed by the planning board, and we have a special permit. It's the same project, but we have two permits. Planning board has already voted to grant us that modification, so we're asking this board to grant the same modification of the special permit. So there's already approval of the planning board, so the only thing to ask the planning board, if you're gonna send it back to them, is to consent to send this back to you. And then you're creating a procedural nightmare, because we know that the three voting members, one of those members is not going to vote to send it back to you. And that leaves us in limbo after we've done our very best. And please keep in mind that we don't believe that we need to do any of this. We're trying our very best to resolve this issue and avoid litigation, which may not be possible here. Because if you grant us relief, it's possible that someone else may appeal the decision. Or if you don't grant us relief, I mean, we have millions of dollars at stake. But I think it's a question of whether this board is going to candidly accept some responsibility for this and take some action to try and help move this forward, or whether you want to push it back to the planning board. I think there's and again, I don't have a copy of the town council letter. I think town council is telling you, this is what the statute says, this is what your bylaw says. I'm not sure that she's giving you advice that this is how you apply those particular authority to this particular circumstance. I think the circumstance is so unusual and so rare, and I think we've got valid legal arguments that would be defensible, that said that, listen, this is not a repetitive petition, we don't have a denial of a special permit, we're not coming in asking for a different permit. We're simply asking to modify the permit consistent with what the planning board has already asked us to do and has agreed to do.
Okay, could you set your name and...
Thank you. Ginny Kramer, legal counsel to Gordon Andrews of Direct Abutter. This road has been built right next to his house. First of all, just a point of order, I did hand to Ms. Snow a letter that I sent to the board today. If you could distribute that to the board members.
We already have.
Oh, okay, great. What I want to say is, first of all, the last time you guys didn't follow your legal counsel's advice that subdivision was required, and Mr. Brodsky talked you out of that. That resulted 3 years later in the judge coming to essentially the same conclusion. The site plan approval required subdivision. It was based on plans that depicted lots. Lots were not created, and therefore the building permits were illegally issued because the developer did not comply with its own plans. When Mr. Brodsky says that he has a valid special permit, I beg to differ. The land court has ordered the building permits to be revoked. And the land court has issued final judgment in that case. There's one post-judgment motion pending, but they lost in court. That means they don't have a valid site plan approval and they don't have a valid special permit. Now, if Mr. Brodsky had listened to the advice of this board's counsel and to the advice of Mr. Andrews' counsel when Mr. Andrews appealed the building permits, the party trust wouldn't have gone ahead and built the road and constructed 2 units because both Attorney Brackett and this board's counsel told them in no uncertain terms that while the building permits were under appeal, they could not proceed. And Mr. Brodsky stated that it was up to them, it was a business decision, and flatly rejected the advice of two experienced land use counsel. And, you know, with respect to if this board votes to forego their counsel's advice and not send it back to the planning board, you know, Mr. Brodsky was clearly prepared to address this issue. I had no knowledge of Attorney Pressel's opinion prior to this hearing. But if the board decides to go forward tonight, I would appreciate being heard on the merits of the application for modification after it's presented.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to, I don't personalize these matters. I'm not going to make anyone out to be a bogey man here. If you read the judge's decision, the judge did not void the special permit. The judge did not void the site plan review. The judge did say that your decision upholding the building permit was erroneous. But you may remember, as I explained, because he said that at least for the time being, that your decision requires each building to be shown on a separate lot. Again, for the time being, offering us an opportunity to try and fix this problem. If we need to appeal the judge's decision, we will do that. We're trying to avoid further litigation. The pending motion is a motion from Mr. Andrews on a new trial because he wants the judge to reconsider for the third time the denial of attorney's fees. He's been seeking attorney's fees against the town, and the judge has denied it twice. And so he's filed a motion for a new trial to try and resurrect his claim against the town, not against us, for the recovery of his attorney's fees. And so if we need to appeal the judge's decision, we'll appeal the judge's decision. But you've got copies of it. Please read it, because I don't think that that what is being represented is accurate in that context. But that's all I'm going to say on that issue.
I mean, Mr. Bronski, prior to the meeting tonight too, you did not have a copy of, or had any knowledge of our attorney, Amy's letter to the board?
No, actually, I called Amy Questle today to find out if she was attending. We had talked about it, and the reason I spent a little time today talking about this is that this issue has come up before in this case.
Right.
And I can't remember whether it's in front of you or in front of the planning board.
I thought you had actually received a copy of it. And we just received a copy of yours this afternoon at 5 o'clock, so a couple hours before the meeting,
I
so.
was walking out the door and I saw that was emailed to me at 5:05. I grabbed a copy so in any event, this issue of repetitive of the petition has been raised in this case before. So I just wanted to make sure that I would be prepared to talk about that. But I can't recall whether we talked about it with you folks or we talked about it in front of the planning board, because we've gone back and forth on this issue so many times.
Amy, did you want to add to this? You had your hand up before? Oh, I thought you had your hand up. My fault.
Well, I feel it's just a modification. It's you know, not unfavorable against the permit. It's just a modification of it.
You don't
So
feel
I
it's a
don't-
substantial change?
I don't know exactly what the change is, so I don't have an opinion on that. But I think it's just a modification.
Which was already previously voted on in favor of the planning board.
But the special permit was not denied.
Correct.
So if I might, if it's not going to be sent back to the planning board, the issue of whether it's a substantial modification is irrelevant, because that's part and parcel of the analysis of 48 section 16. Having said that, even in cases that deal with repetitive petitions under 48 section 16, kind of the bar for showing that the project's different is pretty low. Because actually the courts want to encourage you, if there's something you can do in minor respects to change a project so they can go forward, they want to encourage that. I do agree that the intention of the statute was to prevent people from coming in after they've been denied. I don't think it was intended to prevent an applicant from coming in to change project. I mean, large projects have changed over a period of years of people coming in saying, we need to move this parking area, we need to eliminate this drainage feature. Things happen because you design based upon a plan, but you have field conditions. And so the intention of this was to say, if you had denied us a special permit, I couldn't come in with the same application unless I made a substantial change to that application to a different project. So that's why I'm saying, I think that the substantial change issue isn't really relevant, because I don't think this is subject to 48 section 16, if that makes sense.
Well,
I think it depends on how you look at it. If you're saying, are there more buildings? No. Is there, they've made the, more in line with the density. Are they asking for an additional road? No. Are they additional living units? No. But the changes are, they moved the buildings, they moved the lot lines, probably moved where the septic systems were. So those are changes, but are those changes substantial? So how are you looking at it? Are you looking at it density, or are you looking at it as, logistically where are things put?
I mean, I'm all for ending this, but I also think that this is exceptionally technical, and we have a letter from our own lawyer explaining the situation pretty clearly. And if our move is to do whatever is most quick to end this, that's not the most accurate decision, I don't think. It would be hard to go against what our own lawyer has written us a letter to do. And I understand what people are saying, but...
Jerry, what do you think?
I mean, my opinion hasn't really changed. I think what we're looking at here is, I think we approved their petition a long time ago, and there's been questions on...
The special permit?
The special permit.
Okay.
And now that there's been question about lot lines, and what they're presenting tonight, or we haven't seen yet, is that they're going to change the lot lines to be more conforming to the bylaws, which we didn't think they needed in the beginning. So, is it a substantial change? It's probably substantial to more in line with the bylaws as a lot of people think. So I don't know if that's considered a substantial change. It is a modification. I don't think they've done anything different than what they presented before. It's just a different relocation of lot lines. But you get into the technical stuff, and again, we're not attorneys, but here's where we have to really look at the stuff over.
Well, I think then there's our two possibilities for tonight. We either vote on it directly, or we vote to side on the basis of caution, and actually, bottom line, I'll take responsibility for that. I was asked if our attorney was if we wanted her here tonight, and I said, if you sent us a letter with it specifically, noted on it, I think we're all set. Big mistake. But, so that's on me. But anyway, it's either that, vote on it directly tonight, or vote to continue it and get, seeing the different opinions on the members of the board, to talk with Amy Town, with the land council, and find out the best course of action inside on the basis of caution. I do not want to do the wrong thing here.
That's,
I think the best thing to do is continue it and have the lawyer present next month.
Well, I think we need to go, are we going to continue it, or are we going to ask the planning board to
I think continue it.
vote on the...
I think continue it. The planning board's already approved it.
Yeah, they've already approved it, so we'd have to...
No, they need to vote on the changes in a unanimous vote for us. If we vote, we have to justify that we can vote.
Right, and it's the opinion of the board members that they don't want to do that tonight. They want to continue it until, well, how are we set for time on this, by the way?
They filed December 11th.
They filed December 11th? So what did they get, a 90-day, 30-day?
For a special permit, it's 90 days from the close of the hearing.
What's their last extension?
They don't have an extension, this is a new application.
This is a new application. What the hell is this a new application? I don't get that. So we have 90 days then? And they filed in December? Well, the pleasure of the board.
You want to hear
Can we-
the representation from
Should,
what the change
should
is?
should we postpone it for a month, ask the planning board to look into it, and then?
They've
that
already
doesn't-
done that, though.
doesn't
They've
bind
already
us.
voted in favor of the modifications.
You want to see what the changes they've done on this plan, or not?
Well, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is whether or not we can
We
even...
should.
Yeah, consider it, even consider it. That's my opinion. And
Continue till next month and discussions with our attorney, go over.
how are we set for
She's gonna
time?
convince her the same thing she wrote in her letter.
So this is not a situation where we can get any constructive approval. Again, it's not a permit application.
Right, it's not a permit application.
Requesting modification, and I don't think we could take advantage of any constructive approval in this context. It doesn't solve our problems, so
That's right.
again, I can't tell you off the top of my head, there's a period of time that you need to act within, on the opening of the,
Right, which is 90 days from December, whatever it
I
was.
believe that's correct, but I can't do that off the top of my head.
Is it 90 or 60? I think it's 90.
My problem is that the judge has given us a finite period of time to fix this, which I believe is March 13 or 14.
Okay.
And so if you're not meeting again until
Extend it to February 10th.
February.
10th or 11th?
And then you make a decision as to what you're going to do with
Right.
this.
Then it
Send us
says-
back. You're basically, we're back where we are, which is appeals.
I
But if you went to the planning board, it's likely not gonna work out anyway.
Yes,
Right.
right.
I mean, should we hear what the changes are so we can determine whether that's substantial?
Would you want to hear
I'd
them?
rather see what the
Well, the
changes are.
question is really whether or not that vote on the modification already disqualifies us from, or keeps us from hearing a second modification. It has nothing to do with the change, substantial change or not. Clearly, it's substantial change doesn't necessarily matter.
Right,
That's whether or not
I
that,
tend to agree that that's not the issue.
yeah.
Your bylaw says no application for a special permit.
Right.
We didn't apply for a special permit, your bylaw doesn't apply. I think it's perfectly, again, my opinion, for whatever it's worth. I don't profess to be correct all the time, and I think there's good reason for this board to consider this request.
Okay, do I have a motion from any members of the board?
I'll make a motion to continue to February 10th.
I'll second.
So motion on the floor to continue the hearing on the party trust petition till February 10th. Voting is Kasia, Peter, myself, Bob, and Jerry. Jerry?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Yes.
5-0 to continue it to February 10th.
Or do you have a specific time?
We'll set that up with,
Well, everybody here needs to know.
We already have Seth on it.
let's,
What do you have on the agenda for the 10th at this point?
do we have anything?
I don't have the agenda started yet, but is anything continued tonight? Oh, just the Thompson
Oh,
Street
yeah.
is continued.
Let's, how about 7:30? Is that good with you guys? 7:30? 7:30 on the 10th. And we
Or
voted.
if you'd like, I will contact Attorney Russell.
I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. All right, what else do we have?
Bills.
Bills. Let's do some bills and get on. You good there, Rob? See, I tried to suck you in as best I could. And you just started from the beginning, you're shaking it. I'm such a jerk.
I was like, you did. You came right over, I was like,
Hey, we got some mail here. Let me go through this real quick. Received the wearing mandate states we don't need to do that. I won't do that one either yet. I won't do that one yet either. That one. I have a letter that was submitted to the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's my understanding that Alan Diaz, who is a Board of Health member of the town, has currently put in to volunteer for the empty Planning Board position. I believe this is a conflict of interest, where Mr. Diaz has interest in dealings with the party trust, Mr. Merritt, and Amanda Way. This could cause confliction with goings-on in the town and could be perceived as favoritism against the town protocol, especially with the current issues with Amanda Estates. I don't believe Mr. Diaz becoming a planning board member will be in the best interest of the town of Halifax. Signed, a concerned citizen. And I also have a second letter here, Town of Halifax, Board of Selectmen, to the Board of Selectmen. Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, Zoning Board. Was my reading that bad?
Totally separate, sorry.
It is my understanding that Mr. David Maceo has submitted a volunteer sheet to be appointed to the Planning Board or Zoning Board of Appeals. To my knowledge, Mr. Maceo is the boyfriend of Amy Troop, who is currently a member of the Planning Board. Wouldn't this be a huge conflict of interest? In recent months, there have been accusations that members of the boards and committees have conflicts of interest and not have the town's best interest at heart. This is a blatant example of that. I hope that both members of the boards take this into consideration when appointing anyone interested in serving on the committee. Sincerely, a concerned citizen. And I think that's all we have for mail. That should be it. Yes. All right. Anything else? Gentlemen, ladies, lady?
Motion to adjourn?
All right, what a motion to adjourn? And seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.